Hello there, it's Mike.
And Katie.
It's episode 210.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3.
This week on Cup of Rad. Hey everybody, we're back. That's right, we are back with a multitude of reviewiness.
Reviewiness. Well, look at this. As promised, we
on time.
The next episode was Guardians on time as well.
Right.
So in preparation for the Volume 3 release, we of course had to do a whole bunch of rewatches.
That is correct. We hadn't watched Volume 1, 2 in a while, and we also had Infinity War and Endgame to watch. So we gave them a watch, and it was our RADnesia time. RADnesia! It's a smooth jazz version.
Nice, I like it.
Didn't want to be so loud in your ears because, you know. So
before we get into this, I'm distracted because we're drinking Pacifico beer tonight because we bought some of that for Friday's taco fiesta we had, and it's really good beer. I really like it. I miss it. We used to have it more all the time when we lived down in the States, and so it was kind of a fun little splurge to have. Yeah. So, that was all I had to say.
The following beer is brought to you by My Fatal, and you're enjoying it. That's fair. So Guardians of the Galaxy, that one's one of those ones that, like, when it came out, was different. It was fun. It was fresh. It was bombastic. It was colorful. There was music. There was
banter. I enjoyed it. So it was 11 years ago. I loved the new unknown characters. For me, I had no idea what any of them were. And I loved the involvement of the music. And I loved their banter back and forth. It was just so exciting seeing something so different.
Yeah.
Right?
No, totally. That and I think it stays true though. Like that first one for me speaks in volumes of intrigue because it still is a fun watch. I think it is. Volume 1 and 2 is probably the one that we have watched the most out of everything in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, it's easy watching. Mm-hmm. It still has. Like I still love that opening scene of Volume 1 with the opening with the credits and the title scene. With Star-Lord.
I was gonna say.
I know. I was gonna wait a second. That's a terrible thing to
person
watch.
Dying, kid kidnapping. I'm like, wait, what are we watching?
I loved the opening introduction of Star-Lord, with the music and the kickoff of that.
Your love.
Yeah. And I just, even rewatching it now, you see that. And I remember sitting in the theater like, oh, this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It set the tone immediately for the movie, and it still makes me giddy.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks volumes to how much it means to me, because music is such an important part of my life, and it makes me so happy and so calm and so happy. Just I love when it can be melded together, and James Gunn himself has done such a wonderful job of that. That was one of the reasons why we love Suicide Squad so much is the music involvement, and this one was just that start of it. Right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Well, the placement of the music feels like it's supposed to be there. It doesn't feel like an add-on, and it does really help the visuals as well.
Yeah, it's part of the story.
Right. So, which is a super cool thing to have, because sometimes you can throw in popular music and it's just overlapping and it's like, wait, why is this here? It doesn't. And there's been times where music has been ruined by movies because you just, all you think about is that, or it's like,
or vice versa, a scene is ruined because of the music choice that they try.
There's that too. But like Gunn does have a knack for picking his songs to enhance the scene.
Yes.
Almost like it's an actor in that scene.
Yeah.
Right.
It's part of the ambiance of it.
Yeah.
It's not just the visual, it's the experience.
And these movies really showcase that.
Yeah.
As a whole, like even his Christmas stuff really did show that. At the end of it too, with Volume 1, the simplicity of how Ronan is taken out too is just funny, because it is the idea that they don't really know what they're doing, and they're making it up as they go along. And the fact that I like it. It seems cheesy and corny, but the fact that he put everything on the line to look like a buffoon, just to distract him long enough, in hopes that the others would pick up that he was distracting him to do something.
Right?
Like that
how it all comes together. Like I almost forget. It's almost a surprise. Be like, no, he didn't really have a plan, because there was no like nod or hit or like, this is what we're gonna do. It's just, this is what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And
he was literally hoping Rocket would see the window and get that cannon thing back up and running in time. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
and then yet again, friendship is magic. And they have extreme power together, because I cannot believe how many times that idea shows up in everything.
Well, friendship is magic.
It's a theme that we need, though, all the time. You can tell that connection is everyone. It's the just like Mando, right? Stronger together.
Yeah, we're stronger than before.
We are.
Oh, so there's a lot of themes that roll around in everything, right?
Yeah.
That are constant, and Guardians is a theme of finding friendship and finding family.
Yeah.
Within that, and putting problems aside to become stronger with that.
I still cried again with Groot and his sacrifice, but it's so beautiful as well. So it's hard. It's like overwhelmingly emotional and wonderful all at the same time, and even knowing what's happening for it, it was still just...
Well, it's a skillfully placed scene.
Yeah.
And, that one moment where you get that we are Groot versus I am Groot, I think it's kind of cool to see. Watching the first one, I still like it. And I've watched it, I don't know how many times now. And I really like it. And it's a franchise that really, stuck with me. Because the characters are so relatable in their faults.
Yes, every single one of them has something glaringly that is a difficulty with how they interact with the world, themselves, with each other. They all have, really something that we can see positive and negative in ourselves and the people around us, right?
Yeah. Well, that movie was so big for us that when it came out, we made our costumes, and Kiddo, we saw it, we ended up thinking, okay, fine, we'll take Kiddo to it, with your folks then, and he attached to the character so much that was the year that my mom had made him a Rocket costume, right? Before they made Rocket costumes, right? Like,
it was a full fuzzy teddy bear Rocket costume.
Yeah. So
I still think my Gamora costume is one of my top 2 Halloween costumes. And
what would be the other ones? Oh, your Mabel.
I also loved my Mabel.
No, that's I was just trying to think.
Those were our top 2 Halloweens.
Yeah.
But I think that whole scene that we had, your Star-Lord costume was phenomenal. I know we got the jacket, we bought a replica jacket, but that mask that you made, I am still just blown away by how well it turned out.
For not knowing what I was doing.
Yeah. The thing weighs 20 pounds, but it lights up. It's, it's phenomenal. You can fully see through it. You can wear it.
It only cost me like $30.
Right? Take an old Iron Man's
Iron Man mask.
And
Bondo.
There you go, right? And then my Gamora, just like it came together so well, and it was so amazing, because then we actually had, your mom was Groot, which she made a whole tree costume, and then Kiddo's stuffed animal was Drax. His little bear was his baby Drax. Yeah. And I'm so proud of that, and you can tell just how it affected us as a family, right?
Yeah. So. No, totally. yeah, I still, with watching it, I still like the first one.
Yeah, I have no qualms when I listen to it. I mean, when I watch it, it's still just, I can't find anything that I'm going to really complain about for it, right? It's just really interesting. It's simple, but it's interesting. So.
And it makes you laugh, makes you smile, makes you forget about your shitty life for 2 hours, right?
Right? Well, I like to, like, just his ridiculous behavior, like, just acting so, like, cocky about himself. Like, I'm Star-Lord. Like, what are you talking about? And he still has then such a rap. People start remembering him just because he's just like, well, of course you should remember me. I'm Star-Lord. Like, what are you talking about? And then I love to, with... when he swaps out the orb and then leaves a little troll in it. Yeah. Because he's sitting there and you look at it and you're like, dude, why didn't you check that? And then I love how he's just sitting around in the middle of all of that. And he's just, you can tell it's weighing on him. And then he opens that damn thing and he looks so proud at the same time. Just like, yep, I would have done the same thing. Right. Okay. You know? Right. Well, and then knowing then the future, it has a different connotation when we first watched it. Right. Yeah. You can, that smirk means more. And I think I see it now. Yeah. It's not just like, haha, that's funny. It's like so much more heartwarming now that you know that their relationship and how deeper it is. Yeah.
And it's more of that bait and switch is more, you know, because he knows that he can't trust him, similar to like keeping, like when you go into the second one, keeping him away from ego, right? It's the same idea.
Yeah. Right. So I think it's this time around, I think I noticed it even more that it was just more of a heartstring pull for that than so.
I absolutely do adore Rocket in these films. I think they did a fantastic job bringing him to life. Yeah. You know.
Bradley Cooper did an amazing job voicing him too. Like he made Rocket outside of himself, right? You know, he's so unique with his voice and the way that he just delivered those lines. That character is so well
it's amazing because it doesn't feel like Bradley Cooper.
Not at all.
Right. It doesn't feel like anything that he's done before.
You try to listen to it and you're like, it doesn't sound like his cadence, doesn't sound like his voice. Like you don't find Bradley Cooper in there at all. You know? Which
is impressive. Yeah. Groot, on the other hand, you can feel Vin Diesel. Yeah.
That's just
it's his Iron Giant voice.
Yeah, okay. Right? Yeah.
Right, basically. Yeah. So but Volume 2, like rewatching Volume 2, you know, that one there still for me hits, and that one it's Rocket's story and that I find, you know, is interesting. But like as time's gone on too, I get more out of Star-Lord's story within that as well. And I think that's, you know, it's an interesting thing because on a personal level, there's a lot of these films that I can relate to in a more than any of the MCU stuff. And, you know, it's not like I wasn't kidnapped by space pirates that were going to eat me, you know, or genetically engineered creature. But the themes of all that, and especially the found family and the, you know, all that, you know,
the trauma and the trauma and the trauma and the trauma.
Yeah, the trauma. Yeah. Well, because they're the few of the teams that have that trauma. Yeah. Within them.
So that's why they feel so more relatable than any of the other people. Like I can't relate to Thor or Captain America or Iron Man, you know?
Yeah, I'm not a, you know, billionaire playboy with genetic, like, you know, tech savvy. Yeah. But, you know, an angry raccoon, I can relate to.
You're not a raccoon. Yeah.
You know, the fact that, you know, like, what I did something the other day and you were like, you come off like a dick all the time.
I didn't say that. He said that, and I just agreed with his.
No, you did. Decision. You full on called me out.
Yeah, I have told you multiple times. See, this is why you're like Rocket. Like, it's usually with the things that you want to say or that you harass some of the people that you really do know well. So it's your best friends, like Jesse. That some of the things you can, I think that freedom that you have to say, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, you're showing you love people by being kind of an ass sometimes.
By pushing them away.
By pushing them away. Hey, Rocket. Yeah. But yeah, this Volume 2. Such a bigger story, so much more grand, a lot more silly things, a lot more going on, but in reality, I think it's such a good roller coaster of emotions, right? This one again brings in music in really key moments, and I almost feel the music even more emotionally. Specifically, Chain, Fleetwood Mac. Like, I love that song, but I forgot how much I loved it until I have seen this movie, right? And then I go through periods after watching it where I'm just like obsessive about it, because that song is so it's
well, they use it twice in it, and
it's perfectly used, you know, and it's just, I get such deep feelings when I watch the scene, and it just shot so well. And I think this is one of those ones where I love Volume 1 and I will repeatedly be able to watch this, but Volume 2 grows on me every time I watch it. So
it's like the older you get and the more you go through, you start seeing those things. And also too, like, we've decompacted a lot of like trauma from our youth since we've watched that movie.
Yeah.
You know, since that came out, and you know that you see that, and then you start seeing those things, and it's even more predominant for those things to relate to. Yeah.
I love Kurt Russell did such a good job. Like, I love the character of Ego. You know, you see all the positive and the bright and shiny of him, and his charisma and his appeal, and you know, he has that, like, yeah, this sounds like a good idea, you know, and how quickly it turns. And he did that character was such a good job of showing that. I love Gamora's like, you know, something's not right here. Like, this is just, something is weird. And I love how it unfolds. Yeah. I love how he changes, and he gets, you know, he turns against him so much. And it's like, well, okay, I gave you an option, you know. I love how you pointed out that the battery theme,
right from the
literally
beginning.
Calls it from the very beginning.
It tells you in the beginning that the movie is about batteries.
Right. And I thought that was interesting for that. I know it's interesting then, that theme with Rocket, about very much about pushing people away just because you can, just because you're doing stuff because you can. And, you know, it's how many times do you do that just to, like, he was testing people and just waiting for someone to leave idea.
You also get used to it, right? You also, you know, like, that's one of the reasons why I relate, is I don't like to get attached to people, because people leave or you have falling out over trivial things, right? And I see that, right? And that understanding of it.
Well, how many of them would have actually left him because of that thing with the batteries idea, right? And they're mad and they're disappointed, but they aren't leaving him behind because of it. They aren't disowning him because of it. And that's a lot to unpack for someone to deal with that. Like, oh, I shouldn't do this, but because they're still there. So it doesn't, you know, it's kind of a catch-22, because you also don't want it to be, well, I can get away with everything. Yeah. But it's also, it's not going to work to push people away. Yeah. You know? And then, of course, this one is a huge development with Nebula, and that change and that growth between her and Gamora being, you know, you're seeing so much of Nebula's trauma that she had, that, you know, she never, all those problems was brought on by Thanos. And you see, Gamora obviously pushed her and was kind of terrible to her. But then you look at Gamora's trauma that she had, and she was also trying to survive. So you got two kids that are just trying to figure shit out. Yeah. And, well, no wonder there's issues. But I love that you can see them, you know, beating the crap out of each other and yet still protecting each other. There's so much development.
If I'm not going to kill you, no one's going to kill you. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, that weird bond, that love-hate feel, but it shows how strong it really is. And but the development between everyone was even just, and then with Drax and Mantis, just even Drax welcoming someone else into his life, even in that weird, awkward way, even if it's like a sister feel, it's like, it's still...
Well, then you also get Baby Groot in this, so you get the toddler running around.
So that opening scene, with Baby Groot, and that's, again, just like in the Volume 1. It was like, okay, here's the tone being set for the movie. You know, we're gonna play on this one. It's gonna be ridiculous, but I loved all that background happening. when you.
Well, I
have
think
this
it's
one focus.
amazing the fact that the bulk of it is done in the background, and your forefront is just group dancing,
right?
and it's like it's a cool way to have something happen, and at the same time you're like, well, I want to see this battle, but like it's still just so entertaining to see this little tree dancing around to this song.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And he just puts you in his mode where he's just like, everything's fine.
Right.
It's like the meme with the fire around the dog. Like, everything's fine.
Yeah. Totally.
So there you go. Yeah.
Totally.
I think it's funny too with the Drax deciding he needs to jump in to the animal.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? The skin's the same thickness on both sides. Like, why would that make it? And I literally this time around was like, oh, I guess they're right, huh? That doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe you could cause internal damage. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. But that doesn't mean you should be able to necessarily get out of it, right? So maybe you're going to make it bleed inside and then you're just going to die inside this bloody mass of an animal. like, it's terrible, right?
Yeah, there's that.
But and then he's his confidence over there. I single-handedly took it down.
Right.
Just like, whatever.
So then we get Infinity War and Endgame. So we watched all the stuff that the Guardians kind of like popped into. So we ended up watching Infinity War. We hadn't watched that in a long time.
Sorry, we didn't like talk about the end of.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go back.
There's a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, okay, rewind.
Well, like the most poignant like ending of it all. Like with all the fighting and all the arguments and like Baby Groot getting instructions and actually like learning and growing up, and then like his, Peter's ability to use the power to fight like all the morph stuff, but then Yondu's death and like holy crap. So I love. It sounds terrible.
Yondu's death. I love
that he died. No. It was so poignant and so perfectly timed. Like it made sense with everything. But it's also then, of course, so traumatic for Peter to have lost everything all in one go. And it's, I knew that it makes me sad, of course. It's overwhelming. But he does it in such a heroic fashion for everything. It was the ultimate, I'm going to protect you from your dad.
Yeah.
Meant, it was what he's been doing from the very beginning of meeting him. And it was that come full circle, like finally actually succeeded in protecting him from him. But then the whole scene with Kraglin when the funeral is happening, like all the whole funeral, it's like, it's sad. It's a, it's a nice presentation.
Fantastic placement of song.
But then when that shows up and he's so, I'm going to start crying. He's so happy and distraught all at the same time. Yeah. The look on his face, that is when I break, right? Because it's like, it's so much joy, so much excitement, but also it's still so devastating to him. It's overwhelming. And it was just, that whole scene was just so amazing. So I'm like, seriously, like freaking waterworks out. And, that scene gets better every time I watch it. Yeah. And more emotional. And that's the idea. The older you get and death becomes more and more in your life, it just makes it more and more, emotional. So
no, that makes sense.
This movie, I think it just gets better every time I watch it.
Yeah. It's a great solid sequel. And the emotional weight that it does carry is impressive because it also isn't cheap for the fact that what it's doing is it's actually propelling those characters forward.
Yeah, so much growth for them.
Right? Like it's giving them situations to grow and change from versus it being like a cheap, we didn't learn anything. Mm-hmm. Right? One thing I forgot to mention was I love that the way that they, they show Ego and they show the face on the planet, right? But, I love that it was the idea that they created like an avatar basically so that he could interact. I think it was a great way of doing it without it being so hokey and being like, well, he's a giant planet.
Because in the comics, he is just a planet,
giant
right?
planet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that doesn't make any sense. That's
so when you land on it, then you have your hallucinogenic like moments.
I like with Drax asking, well, does he have a penis? Like, did he like how would he have else had a child? Like,
yeah.
It's so scientific and fact based and like just matter of fact. Like, how did this happen? Yeah. How did you have a planet for a father? Like, so
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's that I liked how you saw the creation of it too. Mm-hmm. Like all this like layers of it being built on something that he had to really create it. It wasn't just boom, there was a human there, like a hologram. Like it was a created thing, right?
Yeah.
So
no, totally. But it's terrible to see how much death he caused because he was looking for a battery. Right?
Well, yeah. Then you look back and relatively glossed over the sheer amount of death that looking for him, testing people, all these lives that were created, and then once the battery was working, all these big globs, like they just showed the one on Earth, but that was a lot of destruction that it would have caused too. It was just like overwhelming,
right?
But yeah, so Volume 2 was done, so we moved on to, we had to watch the Infinity War saga.
Yeah, well, because it is the most, it leads into Volume 3 because there's a huge change, right? Mm-hmm. You have the death of Gamora in Infinity War. So that is a complete shift because, lo and behold, Gamora's back,
Yeah.
In Endgame. But it's not the same Gamora, right?
Yeah, so it's good to refresh on what exactly was happening, how they all worked, and that type of thing. Right?
And I think that's the thing is like those were the more important entries to do a rewatch on for that setup versus the others. The other ones were just like the fun. Yeah, I remember how friggin' cool these movies were.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So, and one thing when we were watching, everyone gives Peter shit when after Gamora is gone and they're on the thing and they're trying to get the
when they're trying to do the plan,
gauntlet,
right?
get the gauntlet off Thanos, and everyone's like, well, if Peter hadn't lost his shit and
I started giving him shit too, but then
and I was like, wait a minute, Iron Man literally has a laser sword.
Yep.
Doctor Strange made a giant flaming sword when they were fighting. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't either of them just chopped off his arm? Just gonna throw that out there.
No, you make a really good point.
Like before Peter even got emotional, they literally, when they were trying to yank it off, why not just cut off his arm?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like why they thought they had to actually remove the gauntlet. Why? It's not like his hand would have been able to still respond otherwise.
Yeah.
He didn't have that power. And so then when you had said that, I was like, God damn it. I'm watching this and I'm just angry at everyone. I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah, okay, I get it. Peter screwed up. But he is human. And
yeah, good luck having any one of us do better than him.
Yeah, totally. If suddenly you're the one you're in love with, didn't come back, and you want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
There is bigger things at play. But for the most part, we're all emotional beings. And we're going to,
Well, and he's never shown to
be stable because he's a child.
Yeah, exactly.
He was raised by pirates.
Yeah, why would you ever expect him to do better? Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. It's one thing for the other ones who've been practicing being heroes, but this whole hero thing is new to him. First off,
it's not even
and he's not really being too much of a hero. He's still
a pirate.
It's still a little bit of good, a little bit of bad.
You're right. A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So. Yeah, no, I think it's easy to say, oh, he should have just done this. Yeah. But then when you pointed out the other ones, I'm like, yeah, okay, they all messed up. Yeah. Never mind.
And at the end of it, though, if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have had a movie. So it would have been really disappointing. We just yanked off the glove. We took out the stones. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. There it is. No more.
Yeah.
No drama. I do enjoy Rocket and Thor's journey in this. It is pretty good to see. Because this is also a bit more where Rocket gets to see how to care for someone.
Mm-hmm. That their interaction is really changing for Rocket. Actually, it's actually a really important part of that.
Yeah,
because Thor is so broken too, and I think for Rocket, it's a little bit of reflection of seeing someone who is so broken, who needs a pep talk, but also more of we got to get going. We got to figure this out, and that balance between it, right? So
giving up one of his cybernetic parts just
because it freaked him out to look at his eye,
right?
Face. Hey, collecting all those parts now has a purpose,
Honestly, I could feel that's something I would do.
Yeah, I do.
I'm tired of looking at your face here. Take this thing. This.
Well, then we got to see that's where our cat Thor, his namesake, is from, specifically that scene.
Our little pirate angel.
He is our pirate angel. That whole scene when Thor shows up, though, between how Drax is treating him, You know, this is a man. And
you are a dude.
You are a dude. Like Peter's voice changing and all that sort of stuff. Like, what are you doing? Nothing. I'm talking. I don't always talk like this.
This is how I always talk. What are you talking about?
And it fit the character so well for him, because Thor doesn't even understand. Like, he's just doesn't act anything different.
Yeah.
It's still just him. And Star-Lord is just hilarious with that. He's so insecure about everything, but Drax is just being such an ass, but he doesn't even mean to be, right? So, good times. I really like that. That movie, though, starts out I forgot how it started with Thanos and Loki dying.
Oh, right.
Stuff. And I was like, oh, shit, I forgot. This goes right into this. And
then it ends depressing. Like, it's actually a lot.
It's such a really dark movie to watch.
It's not feel good whatsoever.
No,
like, you're just
I watched it. I'm like, I feel a little emotionally drained right now.
Yeah.
So
and then with Endgame, though, it is cool to see how much Nebula and Rocket bond. Right, you see how, being that they're the last two, they're able to really kind of like pull it together and make it work.
Yeah.
Right. And it's good for her development as well, right?
Well, even the start out with her and Tony was quite a change for her to see the resilience that humans had, because Tony really held on for as long as possible, and that was a really emotional scene, and you could see her change, her softness that was showing up there was. I really liked the development of Nebula throughout the whole series. You feel so like she's just this cold bitch from the beginning, but it's really easy to see the reason why. Yeah. And so it's so satisfying when she switches over and really opens herself up, and is really truly there. And you have that trust that she's going to keep doing the right thing. It's a really satisfying cycle for that, right?
No, totally. It's weird though, because like for the most part the Guardians aren't super in Endgame except for really Nebula and Gamora, because this is where we find out when then their time heist, they decide to go and they decide to get go
back for 2014 and go try to find the stones. The
stones, and then you get past Gamora, the weird time paradox.
I love they didn't. I mean, why would they anticipate it? Nebula is beyond anything that they really know, because they don't understand how she works. Yeah. But the fact that she recognizes her being in the same time,
because she's more machine than.
And that she can hack into it, and there's some pretty intense Wi-Fi Bluetooth going on there, from all these different worlds, and she can connect with them and then project out of the eye, and that's some crazy ass shit. Yeah. It felt like a little bit of we're gonna create science and explanation for things that we don't know, but this feels convenient for the story.
That is true.
There's no explanation as to why that possibly would work. No. But yeah. So
I think it's interesting because it brings it all back, but it doesn't have, because it's more of the time heist feel and everything. The other they, as much as you see them, they don't have a lot to do. They're more catalysts for all the other pieces to fall into place. The idea of bringing back Thanos and bringing back, all this, and then it's like, okay, well, now we brought back Gamora, but now she's not the same Gamora. She's the past Gamora. That right. So like, there's like all those extra layers, and this will tie into a little bit of more of one thing. Volume 3. What I was talking about, how some of the Marvel movies have created almost like issues for the writers that pick up the baton on the next go around, right? Because they glaze over pretty much why Stark has, got all the nanotech and the the suit again, right after he destroyed it in the third one, and like just even like they jump over stuff with Thor just to get where we need to be, and because they totally just didn't bother really fleshing out any of the stuff in any of the movies that was in Dark World, right? Yeah. Like the whole, or not in Dark, in Ultron. Yeah. Where it was like the weird orgy, like water scene thing, vision he had. Oh, with the violence and stuff. Like they're just like, yeah, you know what? We're not
just never mind.
Yeah. 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 So, but like this is the same, like, I'm assuming it was always to have Gamora come back, but at the same time, like that changes, I think, even if you're aware of it, it changes how you deal with, say, Volume 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, agreed.
We did not rewatch the Christmas special because it was so
relatively new,
fresh in our brains.
Yeah.
We did watch a little bit of
Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder. Yeah.
We thought it was just going to be the first little bit, but then it turned out to be a lot more of the beginning of the movie between things. And because we couldn't chapter skip, took extra time. Yeah. That is a problem with streaming that I like with DVD, being able to choose chapters. Sadly, on a little note with that, we weren't a huge fan of Love and Thunder when we first watched it, but just watching that first little bit, I was actually more irritated than I even remember with it. Which makes me really, really sad because I wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was really terrible. But the Guardians portion was cool. So, just that extra little bit of just seeing.
It was also weird because like they weren't really used in it. It was like, it was a weird thing. It's like they needed to explain why Thor wasn't with them anymore.
Yeah.
And then, like, it feels like it could have been done a lot quicker.
It could have just been said, well, I just didn't want to be with them anymore. Like, it didn't need to have a weird, like, a whole big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we moved past that and
got ready for
Volume 3.
That's right. Okay, so Volume 3 came out. We went on Thursday night
for it,
which was pretty exciting. We saw it in 3D. I would like to see it not in 3D, so hopefully maybe in the next weekend or so we can go see it again.
Yeah.
And that is your review.
Yeah, there's that quick view. Of course, because we want to do a spoiler-free moment for you. Our quick review is we want to go watch it again. I would have gone this weekend to watch it again if we could have.
If time had gone, probably. But honestly, this is the first Marvel movie in a long time that I want to go see again. I want to buy. I went and bought action figures.
Yeah.
I
was sad I couldn't buy merch myself.
Yeah, I really liked Volume 3.
Yeah.
It's darker.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot more weight to it in a certain way from its story that it's telling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same light and fluffy Guardians.
Well, it even has allegories for parallels for our own world and how we interact with it and everything. Like there is, we always talked on how DC movies tended to have more deep stories and allegories for things, and Marvel movies were very light and fluffy. And I think overall, including this one for sure, but the Guardians has a lot of stuff you can apply for real life, and this one even more so for commentary on the world, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this is probably one of the few trilogies that stand out as being really good.
Yeah.
because usually there's always a lot more disappointment, or you're kind of just like, yeah, I like that part of it. But this one here, Gunn, I think, has created one of the few times there's like, not saying it's a perfect trilogy, but like near.
Well, this one had such, again, adding to volume 2, it had so much character growth. You had a jump, and you saw kind of, you walked in on how things were for them after Infinity War and Endgame, but it didn't seem like what happened? Yeah. What pieces did I miss? What did we not see? And then this itself has such huge changes, finding their footing, finding a jumping off point, finding new purposes in life.
Yeah.
Like so much character growth that all felt legitimate. None of it felt shoehorned in. None of it felt like, well, this was a weird flex. Mm-hmm. It all felt natural. And there was
no Deuce Ekmaggiata ending.
Nothing of like, how did this happen? Mm-hmm. Yeah, where something random came out, some random character showed up, anything like that, right? So, I think it's just.
And the villain probably is one of the darkest villains.
Agreed.
Just for his insanity that is his full god complex.
Yeah.
Right. So
that is our spoiler-free review.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I don't want to say any more than that by all means. So if you do have to leave us because you haven't seen it, leave now, go watch the movie. You can come back and hang out and hear the rest of it. I hope you go and see it in theater. It deserves to be supported and seen in theater. Deserves all the praise that it gets.
The big screen adventure, right? Like it's
definitely big screen. Make sure you go and watch it there. So
it is.
So until next time, stay rad. If you're gonna stay with us because you already watched the movie, spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
So like you said with the other ones though, the opening song isn't peppy like the first two.
Yep.
It's it's darker. It's an acoustic version of Creep.
Yep.
From Radiohead, and that sets the tone.
Sets the tone. It says, okay, this is what the movie's going to be like.
Yeah.
We're going to deal with how we feel inside. We're going to deal with demons. We're going to deal with how we interact with the world. We're going to be relatively mellow about it too. We're not going to be bombastic. We're not going to be in your face. We're not upbeat. We're not innocent. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. I thought that was quite an interesting shift from it. This is what's kind of cool is that we've gotten to see over the movies Rocket's enjoyment of music.
I love that so much.
Right? Like the fact that like volume 2 has him like trying to set up a speaker and Quill's like, I didn't tell you to do this. And he's like, yeah, you did. This is what you wanted. This is your thing, right? Like, and like as you go on, he's always got music playing. Mm-hmm. Volume 2 also showed that he when he's fixing the ship, he uses music and like, and then like,
well, even when they blow up the ship in volume 2 with it, hey, you got any of Quill's music laying around? Like he needs it to like amp him up. And so this it's showing even more of his connection with that. So
because he's the one that starts with the music. Right?
Yeah.
It was weird seeing him in like almost civilian-esque clothes, right?
Yeah.
Like he kind of looked like Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
From Tangled there. But yeah, like, so he's listening, he's singing along to it and he's mumbling the words and like, so that was a interesting, like, even like, I know it's not necessarily like canon wise to the films, but like they made it that he's the one that makes sure you have music in the ride at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, you're right.
You know?
That's actually kind of fun. So with that one.
It's just like,
it's just adding more and more, right?
That's what's giving him a connection to the world is music.
Yeah.
And that's something that does, and when I talk about how I relate to Rocket, that's something that I have found the older I get, the more I enjoy and need music, because I came from a household that didn't listen to music.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you find there's the music can really speak to you and help you get jobs done, and there's a perfect song for everything, and like that's it really adds to that, right? So, well, and you really see then how broken Peter is
after
and
everything.
After all of this, you know, he's just totally lost.
Yeah.
And they're trying so hard to.
He's definitely in a weirder place than he was in the Christmas special.
Well, yeah, because we already know with the Christmas special that they're, you know, set up shop at nowhere, and that they're trying to rebuild this little city basically, and this shows more of it, which was great. But yeah, he's definitely gone downhill from that.
Yeah.
You know, so that the importance with watching Volume 2 is now you have the Sovereign, you know, with that little snippet at the end of Volume 2 showing Adam Warlock and the creation of Adam.
Yeah.
And now you've set him loose. I like the commentary on that, though, that he was set in the movie, that he was set free out of his little capsule early. So explaining why he is much more like a child.
Yeah.
It's because he didn't sit long enough. He didn't. It was just like, well, let's just get it done with.
Yeah, I need my weapon to retrieve Rocket.
Yeah.
I need, you know, that was the idea with a high evolutionary, was like, I made this thing for you. It's my weapon. Yeah, I don't care.
So yeah, high evolutionary, as you had briefly said before, definitely one of the scariest villains, in a almost a real sense, rather than a monster, big, powerful thing. The egomania aspect of it, and the god complex that he has, and the ability to wield his complete lack of caring for other creatures and just do whatever he wants, and the repeated aspect that he does it. When you learn how he just is really, well, this didn't quite work out, so this is a petri dish of a test tube of things, and we're just going to destroy it. And it's a big commentary on human nature, on how we test on anything, test on the environment, test on people, test on animals. You know, you got a very clear connection, and then you have all the bigger ideas and how we can just throw stuff away when it no longer suits our purpose. But what he does is outright terrifying, right?
Well, it's wild, and I think this is one thing that's kind of cool with this film, is that it's showing something that isn't really ever shown in film. It's showing the animal cruelty.
Yeah,
like the fact that they have that they find that thing, and even Nebula's like, this is worse than anything my father did to me. And
it's been repeatedly throughout the whole series of how terrible Thanos treated her, and showing all that squeamish aspect. And she says it without even hesitation.
Like she's looking away from the video of what you see, what the high evolutionary did to Rocket, to create him. Right. That idea of like the animal testing in general, like the creations he created with Floor.
Floor made me sad and want to cry every single time I saw her. I mean, whatever was all going on with like the like jaw thing on her, and then the giant wheels on the walrus, and like
teeth. Lila.
It was so sad. So sad. It was just like worst nightmares ever on things, right? And they were just so happy, though. And it shows it was what the resilience that can be found when they still had hope. And then as soon as they lost hope, how everything just fell apart right? So, sorry.
No. But like, you don't get that, you don't get that in the movies.
It was right in your face.
It was clear to be like, you know what, this is bad. Like, this is what we, and I gave him props for writing that kind of story and sharing that, this is truly Rocket's story. And like the movie ended with, the idea that the entire trilogy has been Rocket's story. Everyone has just been the background players to him and his story, right? So I think we get some of the better acting too out of this, especially when Rocket's almost gonna die there on the table, like especially from Pratt, like the spit and the tears that come out of him,
the raw emotion
that
of it, right?
That we saw a little snippet of that in the trailer, but actually seeing what's going on in that moment, it wasn't. Like, a lot of speculation was like, what kind of pain is Peter going through? Well, it wasn't pain he was going through in the physical sense. It was the emotional, I'm not going to let my friend die. Well, here he has something where he had no control over losing Gamora. And in this, he is doing everything possible
to fix this situation. And I, as messed up as he was and how drunk he was, he immediately kicked into gear when it was, we got to save Rocket.
Yeah.
And
it was definitely that snap of the idea where he makes that note too. And it was saying like, here I was drunk and it is going to cost my best friend's life. Yeah.
So even more so like fighting on this, right? Yeah. So raw for that. Speaking of which, on the trailer, of seeing that snippet, I remember seeing the scene when they're carrying Peter, which is from the beginning of it, right? When he's just knocked out or
he's just drunk. He's just drunk.
And thinking like, oh God, what's going to happen to Peter? And then you see that and you're like, asshole's just drunk. Okay, never mind. We're all good on that. And that was a really good hide in the trailer, right? Yeah. So, but
no, because it's a weird moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, apparently that was a 35-pound body double.
Oh wow.
Made that they carried instead of having him on rigging and all that, but there was like a puppet that had the ability to breathe.
Wow.
Kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm. Little breathing meat sack. Okay.
No, it wasn't made out of meat.
No, I know, right? But yeah, we saw a lot of different types of songs in this one as well. Not even the same, like the same peppiness idea. But the best, of course, the biggest fight scene in it. We got Beastie Boys in there. We've got some intensity with that. That scene was... So one of the things, the shooting style of it was very much, especially with the 3D, really right there, almost first person feel. Yeah. Like I felt like I was in the middle of all that, very close camera, very in the middle of the fight rather than far away. So I don't know if that was part of the feeling of the movie.
I think it's supposed to be because the camera didn't ever really feel like it stopped moving. It felt that like it wasn't a constant shot, but it was like almost the illusion of the constant shot because it would go between legs and it would wrap and it would wrap around and it would slow down and speed up and it was like really there. So it's like it was almost a little disorienting as well sometimes. So it was like I liked it, but it definitely brought an emotional response to that, especially that scene. I really noticed it then. Because I think too, it was the last hurrah.
Yeah.
It was like, this is
like, we're just going to do this.
And you got to see each and every Guardian got a moment in that fight scene. Yeah. Right. Where no one felt above anyone else in that fight scene. Yeah. Right. They all felt like they were on equal ground. Yeah. Right.
And so, here we talk about how much they have all this character development, and yet they were still making these choices, like even with Drax leaving the ship. And trying to, and Mantis is still so much just following people around. You still have these choices that are being made that are still costing them. Yeah. And they're still trying to learn, and you still keep having those choices there, right? Like little things like that. And I've liked how they all, Drax now being, we're jumping down to the end, but
that was a heart-wrenching.
It was
not in a bad way, but it was like warming almost, like with Nebula realizing what his purpose truly is. Yeah. Right.
Well, like, when you have all these kids around, and I thought that was so funny. Like, why didn't you tell us you could speak to them? Well, because you didn't ask me. He's still that cocky asshole, like just like no thought process ahead of time, but how he immediately jumps in and comforts them and he calms them down. And then you realize that even with his silliness and the his attitude that he is weirdly comforting. Yeah. Even with what they want to say, the dumb aspect. Yeah. Right. Because I like how they said he's the only one that doesn't hate himself. Yeah. Well, that's really actually really true, which is why he kind of brushes people the wrong way, because we're so used to people feeling bad about themselves or having he has trauma. He's very in your face about what happened. Yeah. But it is what it is.
And his beliefs and his all that.
It kind of made me think about that. And it's like, but that's why he feels so different. And we look at him like he's irritating or he's dumb, but because it's not normal for someone. Because if someone really likes themselves, they come across as irritating. Yeah. Right. And but then finding that different purpose, and you realize that, if he went by Drax the Destroyer, well, was he Destroyer before, or was he just Destroyer because of what had happened to him? And this is where he really, because he always talks so fondly about being a dad.
Yeah, his family, and his family. All his stories are about his family.
Yeah, he never talks about warrior.
Yeah, he never talks
about that.
He talks about his people talking about being warriors and like the stories.
Yeah,
but he never talks about himself being a warrior.
Yeah. And that was, I really, really liked that storyline with that. And then, of course, him dancing at the end is like the frosting on the cake for that one.
Right.
So
it was interesting, too, to see, though, because as much as he always like would call Mantis out for being ugly and all that, you could tell that he was forming love.
Yeah.
And seeing her go away and seeing her not dance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was, I think, a moment for him to realize that she is almost his love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
she's,
because she's not a dancer.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And she, someone who loves you for what's on the inside.
Yeah.
No, despite how hideous you are on the outside.
Right.
Yeah. That connection really right there is quite clear.
Yeah.
In a different sense. And it's, when you go through this, even the Gamora and Star-Lord love is not based on but some big sweeping Hollywood kiss.
Yeah.
It's based on experiences together and bonds being shown from just being around each other. It's so much more real feeling. Well,
yeah, and because there's no damsel in distress in any of them. It's not that where Peter saved her,
swept off your feet because I'm just like blown away. It's not lust version, right? And even with Peter, it was really hard for him to fight that urge because obviously it shows he was just screwing across the galaxy.
Yeah. Like his dad.
Right. But then. I like that Mantis had told him, you gotta learn how to swim instead of just jumping between things. You gotta put some work in and find something different. Right? Why do I have to talk to her? Why do I have to talk to him about this? But
no, exactly.
Kudos on Disney allowing the horrifically bloody Skeletor face of
pulling the mask,
of having his skin flap peeled off and seeing the damage that Rocket had done for so close up for so long. I was starting to get a little squeamish only because I was just like, I can't believe this is actually happening. And then I also was like, I'm so proud of you, Rocket, for doing this. And also, I can't believe it didn't kill him. And like all these things happening all at once.
I love though that the evolutionary, and I can't remember the guy's name, but like they act through it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just like, oh, he's dead. What does he look like? It's not the Scooby-Doo, like just.
Kiddo had commented, he's like, he felt like it was going to be a Scooby-Doo reveal.
But like, he's still, as he sits there, he's still enacting his emotion and he's yelling and you're getting that fleshy, giant-eyed, like.
It's still an experience, right?
So he's still acting through it, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. We also got our first F-bomb in a. Right?
I was like, I kind of looked over at you, like, holy crap! Did that just happen?
Right. Right. So that was a bit of a surprise, right? Yeah. So, the idea that the films are having to grow with.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like though, and Gunn has said he had no pushback. It feels like. They just gave, because the other ones have been such a success, I think they just gave him the reins and said, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So seeing that too, but even just the animal cruelty and showing like that there was no sugarcoating of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he was doing a ton of more experiments later on too.
How many that he just, the quick evolution aspect for things, and then just burns them, kills them right away, and like so much death and just terribleness. It was really interesting then to see how you always knew Rocket was different and special, and he was smart and everything, but then you find out later why he's so hell-bent on trying to get him back was because he was the all-important piece of being able to innovate.
Yeah.
And that, on a evolution level, and with with science and the chaos of all evolution, in my opinion, the idea to innovate and to think about something that you aren't told to think about, that's the intelligent piece, and I think all animals have a level of that. Even mammals, the idea of how they can problem solve for things. But of course, as humans, we have the ability to communicate it and really have that imagination for things. But to know things that we aren't told to know on a biological sense, right?
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to hear him say, he's the only one.
Yeah.
And so you have that extra like Rocket's very unique aspect, right? So.
Right, and it does go back to what he said at the beginning. There ain't no thing but me.
Yeah.
Right?
So even though we do find out that he is started as a raccoon, I still, it was kind of a bittersweet thing of knowing that he actually is that, but it also makes sense. I mean, he looks just like one.
Yeah.
But he's so far removed from that base. You see those little baby raccoons and you see it. And he's no longer a raccoon. He started as a raccoon, but he is going to be a wide variety and mix of things. So, no different than, an evolution of something. We're, Homo sapiens. We're not Neanderthals anymore. We look very similar, and we have a basic of that, but we are not like that anymore. And to say that we are it still fits that he's not actually a raccoon.
Yeah, even though he does say, I'm Rocket Raccoon. Yeah. At the end there, which I thought was a little strange, but I still believe that like you said, he is not a raccoon.
And I think if anything, him using the word raccoon is just kind of it might be a ownership of the trauma that he had, maybe that remembrance of where he came from, the friends that he did make there, the reality that it did shape who he is. Yeah. So kind of maybe just trying to own some of that a bit more.
Lessen the anger. Yeah. Accepting. He's trying to accept.
And it was, being able to finally save so many of those animals. I was so happy that, yes, saved the humans, but I loved that they saved the animals too. That made me so happy, because there's still so many people, I think, that would have been just fine with leaving them. It is what it is. And it wouldn't have fit for Rocket's
the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy.
Yeah, right?
I think, too, when you look back at the music and all that, because it was quite a bit different, but a lot of it was fairly heavy. I do really like at the very end, though, the fact that you have the close-up on the Zune, and Rocket skips over the decades and goes to the 2000s, the last ones on the Zune, and picks a song then from that. Yeah. And that definitely was, to me, that signal that we need to move forward.
Well, it's so symbolic because the music has always represented each decade. If you look back, it was 70s, 80s, and this was 90s. And then now this was the step forward. And such a beautiful song to choose from it too. This is the perfect example of the song enhancing it. It was telling you what they were feeling and experiencing and acting, right? So
it brought everyone together. It brought everyone to dance, and it got everyone to feel joy of we're moving forward. Yeah. Right. And I think that was such a good thing. Now, that was one thing I will admit, when we watched it, when I first ended, I sat back and went, well, there was so much tease, and there was so much the potential of it being the last one. And there was,
felt like it should be more death.
Yeah, I was expecting people to die, and there was so many times where it was oh, it looked like Rocket was going to die. No, they didn't. And then he looked like he was possibly going to die again. And then Peter looked like he was going to die.
Well, I was really surprised that Peter didn't die. At that time, right? I was.
So he must still. That. He must still have some hint of residual celestial in him
for as long as he was out there.
For how puffy he got, right? Yeah. But even if he didn't, but at the end, that idea though that no one did die. Yeah. But then as we talked about it, then I realized, well, no. Gunn did something that most creators, when they've built a trilogy, don't do. He ended up taking characters, he wrote a story that had weight on all throughout the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
Had weight, had character development, and told a story. By the end of it, everyone has learned and grown.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's in a different place than they were.
And that chapter is over. But he didn't do it in a way that if they decide to do a volume 4 with a new team and bring some of those back, that those writers have to explain how they got there.
Yeah.
There's no, well, now we have to fudge this to make this work.
Mm-hmm. You could write a story from it's a perfect jumping on point for those characters, especially having that new Guardians aspect. Mm-hmm. We know who those characters are, but we don't know their stories and how they're going to be, together in an adventure. Peter is completely now off in a completely different realm, being back on Earth. So, yeah, it's so open to anything, any story that wants to be told.
But I don't feel gypped as a trilogy.
Yeah.
Where because so many other trilogies have done something so much more grand and, where it's like, where you have more of like, well, this person's hurt or dead or anything like that. Like
the DC.
Like if you look at, say, like the Dark Knight trilogy, I mean, they went so hard on the third one that there was no way of it being like a different director coming in and being like, hey, let's make more with Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Well, they can't because they ended it.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas this has ended. Mm-hmm. And if we never get anything else with these characters again, I'm not going to feel like...
Yeah, you're not like... It's still closure.
It's still closed. But if someone goes on to go, I'll be curious. Yeah. But those people don't have to fill in those plot holes or Deus Ex Machina it, where it's like, well, we're just going to just glaze over this because suddenly,
So dare I say that this is the perfect comic book trilogy?
I think it falls definitely
the idea,
in there.
Because taking a comic book and putting it in a medium of a movie.
It translates like a comic would.
So well like a comic. Exactly. Yeah. So not, that's the definition of how comics act. Comics act, mm-hmm. You read it over and over again for decades and it keeps repeating itself and it just keeps being allowed and it keeps explaining. And yet we want our movies to constantly reset all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't do that.
Yeah. Gunn created a visual, even though comics are visual, but a live action comic book trilogy.
Yeah. So I'm
in the same vein as if he wrote that in a comic book, mm-hmm. and now some other creator could go on and do it, and you're not going to have a bump or a blip.
Yep.
Right.
Which is really impressive.
This was his 36 issue arc or whatever you mm-hmm. want to say, on it, and I think that's really impressive to see. Right.
Yeah.
Because any creator could be like, okay, now it's time for Peter to grow in this way. Any creator could be like, okay, well, now we're going to expand on Adam Warlock and the fact that now he's a Guardian. Now,
is he a Guardian? Was he ever a Guardian in the comics? How was that character? Remember. I mean, obviously
he's able to wield the Infinity Gauntlet and stuff like that. Like, so he is more powerful.
Yeah.
So there is more to tell with Warlock for sure. So I could see that coming back into the Avengers when they have to battle Kang.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So it makes sense.
Off tangent, I really liked Groot in this one. So when watching Volume 1, I realized suddenly how little adult Groot we had, where he was really a useful member of the team. You know, with Volume 2, being a toddler, he had his one shining moment, but other than that, he was just entertainment value.
And then Teenage...
And Teenage one was that obnoxious, useful at some points, but also really irritating in others. Like
when we were rewatching Infinity War with Teenage Groot, mm-hmm. my God, no wonder you say me and Kiddo are like
Rockin' Groot,
because it was like literally I was just
it was really right in your face, especially
having a teenager.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And seeing that and just
the video game and him yelling and grumbling and him, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. No, it was very, 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 very clear. And then, so it was really enjoyable to see Groot be so useful and so in the game and ready to fight and be such a integral part of the team as well. So that was nice to be able to see again, and because he was such a badass, you know, wielding all this stuff, hiding it. He was such a important piece.
Yeah.
And I'm
beefy Groot.
I'm really happy that he was able to help out with everything.
Yeah.
And didn't even skip a beat for all that. So
he definitely was able to regenerate a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
That his head was still around.
Well, and even how he, being able to grow so quickly. Mm-hmm. Those wings.
Kaiju
Groot, right?
That was amazing.
That was awesome. And then how he still shot, like the big tendrils out and was like he did in the first one, where he's like throwing people around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he almost was growing faster. So it's like a bit of a youth aspect where he just he was really bringing that power
in the
again.
end credits. It seemed like it was a bit further because he was a bit gnarlier. He was a bit bigger and
yes,
it was like white and like So
yeah, it had definitely shown a time jump with that, right? So, but yeah, so it was good.
There's one thing too. So first one we get a Ninja Turtles reference. Second one we get a Pac-Man reference. Third one we get a Skeletor reference. But we also got what I am secretly hoping is James Gunn confirming that he's working on a Thundercats movie.
Because there was a Panthro figure.
Yeah, it was a Panthro figure. So, that's just me saying that.
I think that's clear.
I think it's legit. I think it's true. I watching these ones, I feel that he could actually handle it.
That would, because
Thundercats is a DC property.
Kind of a weird, yeah.
DC Warner Brothers property.
Yeah. But kind of the weird group, the characters that you don't really, are kind of difficult to deal with. And he could, out of everything, he would be good with it.
If I can't get him to do Turtles, can you at least do Thundercats for me? I
think that's right. James Gunn, can you listen to this? I mean, jeez. It's a minor request. I mean, you put it in your movie, so we know you like them.
Because nothing is placed in a James Gunn movie without actual...
All has purpose.
Yeah, everything has purpose.
Yeah.
There's no nothing there. So even if he's confirmed.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
what we're gonna take out of this entire thing. That Thundercats is a go.
Yeah.
With James Gunn at the helm.
We're just gonna manifest it into reality. Yeah, I like it.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited to watch this again.
I'm looking really forward to it. And this is the first one out of like this whole phase that I've been able to feel this way about.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like we literally could watch Love and Thunder. We could watch Multiverse of Madness, Wakanda on
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man not yet. It's soon,
right.
But on Disney Plus there, and I haven't even I look at it and I see it on there when I'm scrolling. And I'm like, oh yeah, huh.
Out of all of those, I'd probably watch Wakanda Forever again, only because it was well acted, but it's that problem of the drama where it's like it's not a feel good movie.
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness was, it's almost just too much going on, and I
think like that's one that I wouldn't mind.
Out of all of them, I was gonna say that would be the one because
I feel like
so many things to look at.
Now that you're not paying attention to the story, maybe you can pay attention to other things,
right?
But it still was. It was the most stylized one out of all of them because of it being a Raimi film. But yeah, I sit back and
this one,
I'm like, when can we go again? Like, how can I own this?
Yeah,
because I want to watch this again. Like,
yeah.
That's what I thought is an interesting feeling. Well, as I said at the beginning, I bought figures and I haven't wanted
a whole wave of figures.
I haven't wanted to buy figures for a film in forever. Right? Like, well, actually, when we just said this, it's not true. The last time I bought an entire set was the Suicide Squad 2 years ago.
So thank you, Gunn, for making Mike buy figures.
So I guess Superman Legacy, I will be buying figures.
At least we already have the Thundercats, so thank goodness.
But do we have James Gunn
the
Thundercats?
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll fall prey to that one too.
I like the suits in this because it was a little bit more harkened to the suits in the comics. Right? The fact that they all had matching suits and I could feel the tinge of maybe that's Halloween. I would love to figure out how to make a rocket costume, but I don't think I'm handy enough to make a furry head.
Yeah.
I would love to be in a rocket costume.
Oh, I know that would be amazing.
Dope as shit. Like,
I don't know.
I don't even know
what
anyone.
I would be.
Well, I know you're being Barbie for Halloween.
I know, but like Barbie Guardian? Guardian Barbie? I'm just joking. I won't do that. I know I can't beat Gamora again. I mean I could technically beat Gamora again, but
I think you should be Nebula and we'll shave your head.
Yeah, that seems like something. Legit. I was waiting for that. I mean, there is a connection there between Rocket and Nebula, so
Yeah. Well, that idea of seeing how much with Lila and Teef and Flora all had prosthetics, their connection probably grew even more then, right?
Well, and then I think that's where his, like we had talked about before, was the connection with him collecting body parts. Yeah. I think he has a fascination with it. It probably reminds him of them and the idea of having that type of stuff around. Yeah. Right. There's got to be something connection with that. So.
No, that makes sense. Wow. That does make sense.
This was emotional roller coaster, not as much as I was expecting, but also, I mean, still managed to full on cry, but more crying of joy rather than sadness. Yeah. It was overwhelming to see them find their places, to find that hope and that rejuvenation for them characters in their lives, and that closure. So it was definitely still emotional, but not for loss, but just, that chapter ending, and that it was so well done. I can't say enough.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, like, with the fact that they did say Star-Lord will return, I feel like his will be a Disney Plus show. His return.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a weird sitcom where he's at home with back on Earth with Grandpa and like learning things. That's what I can see it as.
I hope not.
I hope not too.
I hope not. I hope it's like
it's gonna be like Earth Adventures with Star-Lord.
It could be. Yeah. Like but there was a whole like Bendis did a whole thing where they were grounded, where the ship was like crashed on Earth. So, I could see that, like him learning and idea, but yeah, I have a feeling it'll end up being like a series more than anything.
That does make sense.
Or it's just going to pan out that it's just going to wait until Avengers and he's going to somehow have to like step in Avengers again. But
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Like, I feel like I don't need to see him again. Like and that's a good part of the movie aspect is I don't feel for that. Yeah. What I want to see is more Adventures of the New Guardians. So. I want to see that.
Well, you got it's a weird group though. It's Kraglin, Rocket, Groot, Cosmo, and Adam Warlock. Yeah, like it's definitely a strange...
because we don't know where Mantis went off, right?
Yeah, she's
off finding herself, and then it's definitely a difference, right? So I don't know. It's good times. So much possibilities for things.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm thoroughly satisfied with it and I'm happy, so I'm good. Like, so it was a good movie, and you need to watch it. If you've stuck with us through this, then you still need to watch it. Go watch it.
Yeah, you still need to experience it.
This is honestly still my favorite thing from the MCU, which is a struggle for me going forward because, like,
what else?
This is what kept me going through the MCU through Phase 4, knowing that Guardians was still coming, and knowing that I don't know.
Like, I'm excited for the Marvels. Yeah. But it doesn't have that same joy as Guardians would bring me. Like, I knew I was going to love this movie. Yeah. I have pure faith in James Gunn to make a movie that I will enjoy. There was no doubt in my mind.
Weirdest, they're still good. Like,
yeah, I would no doubt.
Like, look at Slither. It's a weird B movie, but it's still a good movie. Yeah. As awkward as Super was with Elliot Page and Rainn Wilson.
He made that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
As awkward as it was, it's still a good movie. Yeah. Right? Like he's
a good filmmaker.
Yeah. It's because he's got a quirky brain, and but it's a brain built on trauma. Yeah. Yeah. Right? So
that is true.
I just never thought I'd own a figure of his brother. Like, yeah, it's really strange.
Or a cosmonaut dog.
That makes more sense to me, honestly, having a dog in a spacesuit.
Well, it's not Sean Gunn's brother.
It's Kraglin. Yeah,
it's Kraglin, but yes, it's Sean Gunn's brother. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
James Gunn's brother.
James Gunn. Sean Gunn is. I was like, something's wrong with that. Something's wrong. Yeah.
So, but yeah, go watch the movie. Go listen to the soundtrack. Have a good time.
And that's all we've been listening to. It's just a soundtrack right now. So. But
and our kid loves that weird like
the Carnival music.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny because we kept listening to it. We're like, where the hell was this in the movie?
Yeah.
He remembers where it was. I was like, yeah, you liked it.
And then he listened to the lyrics, and then he found the lyrics, and then he sent the lyrics through Google Translate. And the lyrics say, "Hey, listen, my boyfriend is cute. I love dogs. Even if you come to play, you don't even look at me. Out with the dog. 1, I'm just playing around. 1, I'm going to do it. Even the little dog is enchanted by the little dog and it shakes its tail. 1, you're licking my boyfriend. He treats the dog gently, holding nose, kissing my head. By my side, I hold my finger and feel sad. I'm just watching. Words of love, sweet kisses he." That's what he sent me the other day.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it says.
So it's Cosmo references about the good dogs?
Maybe. It's the, I don't know.
They're bat people that is playing with.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or it just sounded cool. Who knows? There's got to be a reason behind it. Obviously, the translation of it has got to be figured out better. Post, like a clear, just word for word, right? But either way, it's about dogs, apparently. So, cool. Until next time, everyone, thanks for joining us and have a wonderful day.
And remember, stay rad.